Hey, this is Skippy from Mornings with Lone Star with Dick and Skippy. You're listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZWLP Conroe and 106.1 KZCCLP Conroe and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the Legal Connection Show. You are listening to Lone Star Radio, and I'm not sure if you are listening on FM 104.5 or 106.1, but that's our FM frequency. And you can also get us on Facebook at thelegalconnection.com, and our YouTube of the show will be out probably about an hour. And so we are here as a public service. That would be my co-host, Cheryl, Christine Jahani, and I, Tony Collins.
Hello, Tony. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I'm here.
And Cheryl is with us remotely because she has decided that she's going to try to absorb all things COVID. And stay at home,
right.
and she also being sensitive to making sure that we don't get all of her Cheryl germs.
Yes.
Anyway,
yes.
Today on the Legal Connection Show, we have got a special guest, Crystal Ward, and she is, for lack of a better way to describe her, omnipotent of all things land, and has just done a lot of things that are sort of entrepreneurial. And I thought it would be really fun to get somebody on the show that actually exercises her rights and does, things that people do out here in Montgomery County, buys land, right. And it has mishaps and it takes the bull by the horn, so to speak, and goes forward. So I'm going to ask her a series of questions, but before I do that, I want to find out, Cheryl, do you have any questions?
No, I'm excited to hear from Crystal. Is she Crystal? What do you do? What's your job?
Okay, well, first of all, hi, Cheryl. Good to hear your voice. And thank you, Tony and Cheryl, for having me on the air today with you. What do I do? Well,
she has to take the fifth.
Yes. Well, my first job is I'm a mom of 4 beautiful children, so that's most important.
Well, good for you.
That's wonderful
exhausting.
Things that come with it. Yes, rewarding and exhausting sums it up nicely. But my husband and I are real estate investors. Tony has been my mentor. I'm so grateful for her.
Yes, as we all are.
Yes, we
Whatever.
are. We are.
No, but just a little bit of background on Crystal. I met her through my good friend, my BFF, Fran, and I know that I may not be her BBBBFFFF, but she is mine.
You are.
And she had just asked me to speak to Crystal about something mundane. It may be a dental question. I can't remember what it was.
I don't remember if it was dental, or I think it may have been one of the bad tenants I had.
Yeah, but I don't remember what it was, but it was a while back. And Crystal just would, from there on out, would always have some odd, off-the-wall question that was completely on point with what we'd either talked about on the show, or I'm like, what, you're experiencing that? You're trying this? I love you. Let's do it. So Crystal's going to not only finish telling us about what her background is, but she's going to give us some insight on many things that she's experienced firsthand in buying land as a real estate investor. But I interrupted. All right. So tell me more about your background.
Well, a lot of the background stories will actually come out during these topics of discussion, because I can dare say that I have made enough mistakes to learn a lot along the way, and Tony has been there to help figure things out.
Just so our listeners know what those topics are, today we're going to talk about tax fights, easement issues, thwarts with your homeowners association and things that come up when you buy land that you did not know, and land acquisition pitfalls. So it's a little bit of a continuation from last week, but we've got somebody that actually experienced it. So go forward, my dear. Anyway, so to finish, you said that you were a real estate investor. How did you get into that?
I got into that because I had someone in the family come to me and said, I am so tired of losing money in the stock market. This was back in 2010 when we were in rock bottom, and asked if I would be willing to manage properties if they were to purchase it. And I said, absolutely. I had a newborn baby at the time, and opportunity was knocking, and I was very grateful recipient of that.
But your background to do that, was that just, I'm going to shoot from the hip, or did you have a college background or?
I do have a college background. I'm a registered dental hygienist, and I love that job. I really do. I love being around people and doing things with that. I can say that real estate is kind of in my blood, I guess. My family members have several rental properties, so it's not new to me.
Okay.
They've built several houses. My dad's built a few catamaran boats. I mean, there's really no limits.
So it runs in the family.
It does. We're project people.
Okay, so you somehow segued from being a dental assistant into being, a
property manager.
major
That's interesting
property
to
investor
me.
manager.
Yeah.
Yes, correct. Correct. That is how that all began.
Okay, so how though? You're just a dental assistant, and you said, I'm managing these properties, and now I'm going to roll this into something that I do all the time because I prefer to do this, or it's making me more money, or whatever the reason may have been. But so what did you do next? What was the catalyst that got you out of the dental office and into the streets, as they say?
Well, I actually did both, and I enjoy doing both. It was a nice balance to be able to be in the dental office part-time and do real estate part-time and do momming, of course, full-time. But what actually led me out of the dental office was the dentist I worked for retired, and I had to have carpal tunnel surgery, and so those kind of went hand in hand.
I didn't know.
And
So you took advantage of that opportunity of no longer having the dental assistant realm as your form of supplemental income for your family, and then you started to do this.
And we were dabbling in real estate prior, and then we kind of dove in deeper to real estate, and some went well, especially at first when we did this. And then
So how did it go well at first? Before we get into the topics, I'm curious.
So it went well at first. We had an opportunity that another family member was about to be foreclosed on their house, and in hindsight, the house should have had a bomb to it just because it would have been easier to rebuild that way. But we took on the challenge. It was an hour and a half away from here, and it was very rewarding, not only for the neighbors because they were tired of seeing this dilapidated house that was bringing down their value, but it also gave that family member a opportunity to move on with their life and in a much healthier way. So it was a win-win in both ways.
So you paid the foreclosure amount that you bought it at foreclosure sale, or you paid the mortgage company to bring it up?
It was free and clear. It was for back taxes that they were going to be foreclosed on, and so we gave them that money plus some
taxing
extra
authority?
money. I'm sorry, yeah. So we paid off the taxes. We gave the family member money to move forward with their lives.
Oh, that was nice. Okay.
And it paid off like their vehicle and kind of got that momentum going. And then we just started renovating the house.
Okay. So when you paid the back taxes, this is just regard to people that probably have been in the same situation. Did you pay your relative the value of the house, less the taxes you paid the taxing authority? Or how did that work out? How did you work that out with your relative? This has got to happen a lot with families.
Yeah.
We asked actually that it not be a thing. We didn't anticipate doing this. Some other family members stepped in and said, "Hey, they're willing, and you can come out with some cash in your pocket." And so I think we were only, I don't really necessarily want to give the amount, but it was a small chunk of change in comparison to the house. But the house was literally falling apart.
So the fair market value of the house was about what you had paid in the taxes. And I've been in that situation with my own family members where they were in a foreclosure situation and the taxes and the house didn't have gas because the gas company had pulled the meter and there was no roof that was, everything was wrong with it. It needed so much work. Just like you said, if we had been lucky enough to have a hurricane or lightning strike, and insurance pay for it, we would have been, very blessed. But that's not what happened, and we, for a long time, had to fix the house up. So, but you worked out a deal where you paid the taxing authority, and everybody financially was happy.
Yes.
And then what'd you do next with this house?
Oh, we just went up there every weekend and renovated it, and we took our kids or our demo team, and we had fun renovating it that way, and they had fun demoing it, and we worked, and other family members pitched in and helped.
That's
and
nice.
everybody came out ahead.
Did you put new floor in and new,
Oh, the whole thing. We rebuilt walls. We did. They had 3 raccoons living there, so it was quite
another family.
It was it needed to be cleaned out. We redid the floor plan, so we modified that.
And ultimately,
everything.
did you sell it?
We got it.
Was
We
that
did.
okay? So you were able. Did you get a loan when you did that, or did you just pay for it as you went?
We paid cash with that one.
Okay, because I will say that in my own experience, when I had the same renovation kind of disaster, benefit, because it was a benefit to me from learning from that, I actually had a guy that I worked with said, no, you need to go take out a loan on this. It's got to have some market value on it for you to do, to repair it, and then you can have a tax break because you can take the loan.
Okay.
And mine was I can't remember how we did it, but it was financially it was better for me to get a loan, and I didn't have the cash to do it, and to have someone helping me. But I don't think you did that. You were doing a hands-on thing.
Okay, so that's of interest to me because I didn't think you could get a loan if it wasn't in a livable condition.
No. In fact,
so I sold land that I had in order to pay to renovate the house.
So we're both learning.
Yes.
I didn't know you did it like I'm going to go in there and redo the floor, and I'm going to figure it out on my own. And I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I work in a land department in an oil company. Exactly.
Well, Tony,
Yeah.
can I ask you,
Yeah.
the house that you're talking about that you did, how did you come into that house? Was it a family house? Or?
Yes, my father had died in '86, and my mother was a stay-at-home mom, and she didn't have a skill set to be employed. And when she'd gone through all the, the life insurance proceeds, she had always just had money, and so suddenly she had no money, and she was kind of lost. She's like, well, obviously someone's going to pay the mortgage, and it was like, who? And so I didn't know what to do, and I was only like 26 at the time. When that happened, I was like 29. I didn't know what to do, but a guy that I worked with said, you need to step in and help because your mom is she doesn't know what to do. And so I didn't have any money. I was young, and we were barely making ends meet. And I had this what I thought what I was going to do was I was going to end up fixing the house up for my mom. But it ended up that she couldn't pay the money on the loan that I took to fix it up. And so I thought, well, we're going to have to fix it up, make a profit on it, and I'm going to take that profit and buy her another property that she can afford to live in, which is what we did. But but the benefit was it was a very kind of a corporate approach that I hadn't thought of. And this guy that had a master's at UT in finance and real estate and all the stuff that I'd worked with said, no, you need to immediately go get a loan. They will give you a loan to improve the house. And because the fair market value improved was much higher than what it was dilapidated, it was like within a week, I had $25,000, which at the time was a lot of money in my pocket. And I was very, and then of course, when you have money in your pocket and you've got, all of the McCoys, the Hatfields and the McCoys family members right there, they're like, oh, you need to pay me back for this, and you need to pay me. And you're like, no, I don't know you for anything. I need to fix this house up. And so that, there's a little bit of bad blood when there was money involved. We all know that. The love of money is the root of all evil. But I was able to learn a lot, fix the house up in my way, different from the way you did it. And then it took a while to sell it because the market was really bad back in, I think it was 88. There was a big, it was Black Monday or something in the stock market and the bubble and the real estate. It was really, really bad. But we ended up selling it, and we were able to take the net proceeds, and because of the bubble, I was able to find a different townhouse, which is small and nice, and so my mom moved in there. But you did this on your own for your property, right?
We did. Now, however, we've taken many loans since then to remodel other houses, but it's been much harder than I thought to get a loan.
Really?
Well, being self-employed. I'm like, what else could you possibly want? My blood type, maybe? That's about all you don't have.
Yeah, but being self-employed, it shouldn't matter. It should be the value of the property because that's the collateral.
I agree. We should probably leave it at that.
Okay, so the first one you did, you ended up selling that property, correct?
Correct.
And then you had a little bit of a profit, and then what did you do with that profit?
Reinvested it.
Okay, into more land.
Into, yes,
houses,
we did more houses after that. We did about, I didn't know we were going to talk about this. This part of it. Yeah. We did about 3 houses, I believe, before we invested in more land.
Okay.
And,
But
went well.
you kept investing and then selling, investing and then selling, and then you decided. Did you decide land was a better value, or you just open for anything as a real estate investor?
Normally we do houses. We do, I think, 3-bedroom, 2-bath is kind of your magical number when it comes to flipping
you like
a house.
that, right?
Yes. And do everything kind of neutral and just update it.
Okay.
Open it up, as open a concept
Like
as possible.
the Property Brothers and all of our realty.
Chip and Joanna,
I think that you should have the Crystal Ward show.
Oh, thanks. You know, that's funny. There's some parallels there. My husband and I, we've started listening to their story, and I was like, a houseboat. That's kind of how they got started, was because of a houseboat.
Oh,
We
really?
literally almost bought a houseboat. We were
Really?
this close to buying
Now,
a
real
houseboat.
quick though, tell me how. I don't know that story. How did they have a houseboat and they get started? Because that's interesting to me.
She was an editor, I believe, or a blogger, and a friend of hers like submitted something to somebody who interviewed her. They came and videoed them for a week, and it was on that 5th business day that the guy pulled her aside in the morning and said, "Look, something exciting has got to happen, or it's a no-go."
Oh.
And she was not sure how the day was going to go. However, apparently Chip had ordered a houseboat, and it arrived that day, and they got in a big debacle over that. But yet they worked through it, and that
Why
process
did he
made
order
the
a
trip.
houseboat? Was it just for an investment?
Apparently, he does a lot of random things like we do. He's crazy
We
like
all
us.
do. We show up at auctions and we're like, uh-oh, what are we going to do with this?
Yes,
And
yes.
we turn it into something. So, yes, being random and kind of fun like that. But they made it work.
I like to prefer her as like an outside of the box kind of thinker.
Yeah.
That's how we.
That's the way you have to approach it.
That's how we approach
But you
it.
do have to have a significant other, and I'm sure your husband's the same way, that's on board with your ideas.
We balance each other out. He's much more analytical.
Okay.
I'm much more sporadic, so it's a good balance.
It is. Okay, so now that we know how you got into this, let's go into our first topic, even though we
Yes.
probably we'll take some stuff off the other topics. Tax fights. Tell me about it. Have you had some?
Oh, I've had some
But you're willing to fight your taxes. Normally people
Oh,
don't fight them.
every year. So I have.
And we're talking tax fight. We're talking property taxes.
Property taxes.
You are contesting the value that they've sent you.
Yes. So
Okay.
as a property manager, I go and I protest every single property every single
love
year,
it. I love
especially the rentals, especially my homestead, anything. I mean, I just protest
Because
it.
you save, and the reason people don't is because they're like, well, the money I would save on the value is just not that much. But I would say it probably is.
One year, I think I saved was it $6,000 or $8,000, and so I went and spent 10% of that on a shopping spree. It was my reward to myself for not
Wow.
paying a tax
Okay.
consultant to
So
do that.
either tell us about that one or tell us about what you're going to say, about your experiences.
Well, I kind of wanted to make mention of just an overall view. I actually spoke to a guy at the appraisal district this morning because I needed one word to fill in the blank. I just kind of wanted to give an overview of what that process looks like for an average person, because my neighbor came to me and I helped her, and that was one of the best situations I had. She and I sat down and I said, okay, let's look at comparable properties in the
So
neighborhood.
you're helping your neighbor fight her taxes.
Yes.
That's so nice.
It was
Okay.
fun. Well, thankfully, she came out way ahead. They actually put it under the value that we proposed, and then they went up on mine. I'm like,
Good.
okay, I don't understand it, but whatever. It was. I was so happy for her.
Yeah.
Let's see. So, first of all, when you get your protest or your valued
Right. You get in the mail.
yes, the first thing you want to do is obviously fill out that form and send it in.
It's all e-file right now.
That's true. That's true. We're doing more stuff online now. There's usually 2 little check boxes that you want to put in there, not of equal market value and things like that. So the
Oh, they give you a reason that you're contesting it on there. I never even saw that.
They do, and there's. I'm sorry, I don't have those written down in front of me, but there's not equal with market value, and
There's a litany of them. I usually
There's
just
a
go in
handful.
there. I know what they are automatically, but online, at least in Harris County, the one that I always fight my taxes over in Harris County. I should fight them here too, but I don't. It's just it's a toggle. It's just
Yes.
online and a toggle.
Exactly.
And
It's-
I just check off, and you're not married to that request, that reason. It's just something you're filling in.
no, but if you feel like it's a valid thing
Right,
to
yeah.
discuss, check it. There's no
yeah.
harm in it. Absolutely, check at least 2. That's my recommendation. So after that, you'll go to an informal meeting at the appraisal district. You'll sit down with someone one-on-one.
Now, you do that in person, but I've done mine Zoom.
Okay.
So do you prefer in person or Zoom, or do you care?
I prefer in person, but I guess that's what I'm used to more than anything.
I don't like driving down there.
I don't particularly either. The traffic, and
But in
construction's a
person is
mess.
always best to have somebody's sort of attitude and,
I've gotten to where the informals I tend to do online because I'm not going to settle for that anyway.
okay.
And then so we just move right along to the formal, where you'll have 3 board members and then also 1 person from the appraisal district. And that's where you present your evidence. I mean, I break it down personally into the land value and then the improvement value. And that gives me 2 different angles to combat and give my opinion. that seems to
why
have
the
worked
appraised value
well.
should be what you say it is.
Yes.
But you gave me a wonderful tip, which I'm sure you're going to talk about how to fight this when you're arguing with somebody that's got a certain position that's different from yours. So what do you do?
Oh, I just give them the numbers in a
Yeah, but
spreadsheet.
you had said you got their information. You said you had told me.
Oh, yes.
I loved that. It
Oh,
was the
thank you.
best.
Thank you. Okay, so we'll go to that now then. So before you go to either of the hearings, the best thing to do is to request the House Bill 201. And what that is the appraisal district's information as to what they use to value your property. You've got to remember they collect data in like mass quantities, and that's kind of how they come to your value. But some neighborhoods are just different. And even the guys I spoke to at the appraisal district this morning will tell you some neighborhoods are just different. They're either custom houses or they're just the exception to the rule. So if you can request the House Bill 201, you're going to probably get 40 to 60 pages of stuff to look through.
So when
And
you're
it's a
saying that,
daunting
you're
task.
saying the House Bill 201 is a statute that provides that the appraisal district has to give you
Yes.
their information that they're supporting their value on.
Yes.
So you're writing a letter and emailing it or sending it. I think I sent mine. I think there was a rule in there that said you had to send it. So I sent it certified. No big deal. It was like a couple dollars certified. Asking them that per House Bill 201, I need the discovery that you have that you've. They don't call it discovery. I need the information that you used and compiled that shows how you came to the number that you're charging me.
Yes.
And then you fight their numbers.
It's a beautiful thing because they have all the comps listed right there for you. And what you do is you select their lowest comp and you use it against them.
Yeah.
And it just works wonders. I mean, they can't argue it at that point.
They can't, and they don't. And then if you make sure in advance, like 5 days in advance, because it's like the little timing that's in the statutes and in their rules. If you just email your pictures
Yes.
of the bad air conditioner and the raccoon nibbled wires and the no roof and the Hatfields and McCoys with their pitchfork in the front that you can't get rid of, your squatters, if you just send that to them, they want to see that because they really want to help you.
They do.
But they can't if their hands are tied because you don't have the information to them.
Sure. Those
And
pictures speak 1,000 words.
they're very important. And if you do, you can even do it the day of the formal hearing. They will give you a break as long as you can load it up or have it with you, even though they say you can't. So anyway.
Yes, I print everything out. I'm kind of old school like that. I like to have and you have copies for everyone. Help everybody is on the same page. So I think that's very beneficial. Yes. Between the House Bill and pictures, I think you can pretty much argue your point and
Right. You will come out
to a fair conclusion.
You're not going to walk away for anything less than they offered you in the informal, for sure. But you're right. In the informal hearing, it's just one guy, and you're just talking with them like I'm talking to you right now. Correct. And he's just like, "Hey, it's informal. This is almost like a little mediation before we go to the real thing."
Right.
But you can settle for that. But I remember, I had that little, Jiminy Cricket in my head that was like Crystal Ward's voice coming into my ear saying, you may not want to just go with what they give you in the informal. And I'm like, would Crystal do this?
You're too funny.
What would Crystal do?
I find that I've had more success going to the formal because you do have 3 non-biased people that are
Right.
willing to hear you out.
And you'll have
more
one
so.
that's always not on your side, but 2 kind of will sort of lean.
And I don't always win, but typically I would say about 4 out of 5 I come out ahead in some way, even if it's
worth
small. It works.
fighting.
I think so.
Yes,
I do
okay.
think so. And the third step, which most people don't know about, and I didn't learn until probably 8 years into protesting taxes year after year after year. But there's a third step that's very rare. It's arbitration. And if you go to the formal and you cannot agree on a number and you feel like that the number's just invalid and it's just, you're not going to settle for
Right.
that. Your third step is to go to an independent arbitrator. And I believe that's through the State Office of Administration. Anyhow, they have one at the appraisal district.
Right. If you go to the State Office of Administrative Hearings
Yes.
Online, they will guide you through it. I mean, these
Yes.
administrative agencies are amazing. They're set up for people to be pro se because they know really you don't need, unless you're dealing with the $6 million residence, which I did once. I was fighting a $6 million residence, and the problem was it was worth $6 million.
Oh.
Yeah,
That's a hard one.
We went through with this well-off, well-established 2 doctors that had PhDs and medical they just had too much money, and they bought this house, and they were showing me all the nitpicky little things wrong with their they're basically $10 billion property, and I was right off Memorial, in Memorial.
Prime
It was
location.
it was a prime location, and they just bought it for this amount of money. And look here, the marble is not perfectly aligned, and I'm like,
Zoom in on the
these
picture.
rich people are showing me all their dirty laundry, and they just the appraisal district was just like,
We don't wanna
get
hear it.
out of here.
They didn't wanna hear it.
They were like,
Sure.
but so have you been to arbitration?
I have not, but I do know someone who has.
Okay, what happened?
Matter of fact, they're about to go through it again, I believe.
Oh, they liked it then. It was successful.
It was successful for them. So you can go to the tax comptroller's website,
Mm-hmm.
go under property taxes and assistance division to get more information
Mm-hmm.
regarding arbitration and litigation. But
But you haven't had to go there yet because you have been satisfied on the formal
I
level.
checked into it because I was not satisfied. And this is, I'm going to throw myself under the bus because it's kind of fun. So the appraisal district kept telling me what my house was worth, and I had built it about 2 years prior. And I was very frustrated with them one time. And they kept telling me it was worth several $100,000 more than what I
That's a big difference.
huge. And I finally said, if it's worth that, it's for sale. So I
Like they care.
right. So I put it on the market, and let's just say it sold.
Oh my gosh, you actually sold it?
And I didn't expect to. I expected to go back the next year and be like, "Look, I had it on the market for your value," and nobody even gave me an offer.
And they did.
And
No.
if they did, it was a cash offer. I'd be crazy not to walk.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. What county was that in?
Oh, it was here in Montgomery.
Okay. I guess I knew you were in Montgomery County. You like your Montgomery County
I
properties.
do. I'm a
which-
Montgomery County girl.
I know, especially that A-frame house you had.
It was
That's
my
favorite.
too. I like the guy that lives there, though.
I know, and I like the house. I wish that I had a reason to have bought it from you, but I couldn't.
Every A-frame.
It was a little A-frame. Just as a way of description, how would you describe your A-frame house?
Oh, like a cute little dollhouse.
It looked like a dollhouse. It did. It was all windows, and it was triangular, but it wasn't a teepee. It was a real house. and-
Close. So the guy that bought it was from up north, and he said like that was his. That's what he remembers as a child, was having a lot
Living
of
in a
those.
teepee?
Basically.
But it was a wooden, cute one. I mean, this sounds bad for people listening. It was a cute house. It had like a little body of water over there, and I guess maybe it was what would you call that? It wasn't a man-made. Did they dredge that to create a
It was
water?
just another little lake. Yeah, it's close to
A
Lake
little-
Conroe, but I think one of the lakes connects to Lake Conroe, but the
Yeah,
other
so
two
it may
don't.
have been a naturally forming little kind of body of a reservoir that collected their own water. So it was their water. But
Yeah,
anyway,
it's probably a detention pond, really, but it works.
Yeah, whatever it was. Okay, so what else on taxes? Anything?
That's pretty much the three steps:
That you
informal,
fight them?
formal, and arbitration.
Arbitration, and that you did the thing that I wouldn't have expected. You sold the property, and because they were right, apparently.
Yes, they were right. They proved me wrong, and I think we all came out ahead. So very good.
Okay, I love that. Okay, so what our next topic is easement issues, and you always have easement issues. You have estoppel, prescriptive, public. You have more easement questions than anybody I know, which I love.
Oh,
So give us
yes,
give
do.
us one of your easement
Okay.
dilemmas.
I purchased acreage for personal use. I'd like to build on it since
Uh-huh.
we don't have a actual house at the moment. Like
What?
that. We haven't built our house yet. We sold the last house,
You did? You
the one I just mentioned.
Yes,
yeah, we
yes.
sold that,
I
and we
didn't
bought
know
land.
that. Oh my gosh, the one with the
and,
water well?
the water well. Oh, that's the land.
Oh, okay.
Yes,
never
the water well
mind. I'm getting
issues.
ahead of myself.
Yeah, you know
Okay.
about that. Oh, that was another issue. Let's see. So
Crystal
easement.
gives me little text messages. What about this? And I'm like,
Yes.
I've never had that before. Let me look it up.
Allow me. I'm the exception to the rule medically and in person. So, if with land. So let's see.
Easements.
Bought acreage. Even has a sign on the land that says private road. Spoke to the two neighbors. That's all I have.
But you did your due diligence.
I thought I did. Spoke to the neighbors. The road is actually named after one of the neighbors' family.
As it typically is in Montgomery County.
That's true. And she told me, like, this is a private road, and even
It didn't have like a public sign on it. It was just like a little sign and with a gate or something.
dirt road with a private road sign.
I did have a gate. Just out of curiosity.
It did not.
Okay. Didn't
did
have
not.
to. But this one didn't.
This one
It
did not.
Did or did not? Okay.
Did not. They have a gate at each of their properties going into their driveways, but not at the edge of
This
the
one.
property because
How did you get to it if there was a gate at the properties? That's confusing.
You drive down the dirt road
Uh-huh.
and then turn off into each of their driveways. So you have a dedicated easement to get to there because they're landlocked otherwise.
Oh, okay, got it. All right.
So let's see. So what happened with us is that bought this property, thought it was a private road. A utility company also bought property
Near the same time?
a month before we closed, and it was out of the same tract.
Okay.
And
Common tract ownership.
they said that they were going to bring their large vehicles onto the land and down the dirt road. And I've tried to politely say, I
Can't
don't
do
think
that.
so, because it's going to tear up the road.
But you didn't know that they had. Did you know that the company that was going to bring the trucks on had just purchased that land? Had you talked to them, or where were you in the loop of your due diligence? Had you? Was there? Did you have a chance to talk to the big truck company before you closed?
I knew that they were purchasing it.
Okay, but you didn't talk with them.
I did not speak directly with them. No, I was too busy packing up my house at that point
Oh.
because we literally
just
sold the
sold.
house
Uh-huh.
and bought the land the very same day. So things were in an uproar for a solid
Okay,
month.
okay.
But yeah,
Living
so-
off of the I don't know even what terminology to use. You went from a home to no home, but in between you bought something and
I went from house poor to land poor is what it boils down
yeah.
to.
but I mean you had all these babies. I mean you still have. I mean they're not. How old are your children now?
I have 10, 8, and 7.
Those are babies.
They are babies.
I mean you're doing the homeschooling Zoom thing if you're not taking them to school.
We did do it. We are not now. We're back in school now, and I miss them. I miss having them by myself.
Yeah, I bet you do.
I do. I do.
Because
I actually enjoy
Cheryl did
extra
that
time.
too. She homeschooled for a while, but
Good
you did it
job,
because of
Cheryl.
Zoom, didn't you? Or did you do it?
I have 6 children.
Yeah, you have
so.
6. Did you homeschool your 6 because you chose to, or was
Who,
there?
me?
Yes.
Oh, no, I chose to.
Okay.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, and my sister did the same thing, and I would never have had the patience to do that or the intellect. I
don't
just
know when
wasn't
y'all
smart
s-
enough.
I
So,
don't know when you sleep.
Did you do it because of COVID or because you wanted to?
We did it because of COVID.
Okay. And but you were you liked it, but now they're. Did the kids choose to go back to school, or did you?
They did. They did choose to go back. I actually asked them. I said, I will ultimately have the say so,
Mm-hmm.
but I would value your input. And I asked them, and I anticipated them saying that they wanted to stay home
Yeah.
because they've had such
Yes.
positive feedback about it. And they surprised me when they said they miss their friends. I understand.
I
They miss
loved
their
it. It was
friends,
democratic. The same thing with St. Anthony of Padua with all the kids. You would think they don't want to go back to Catholic school. They got to go to mass, in the morning, and they've got to wear the uniforms, and
I
you have to
miss
get
it.
up, and it's cold, and you have to eat a certain lunch. No,
They miss
they
it.
all wanted to go back. Craziest thing. Okay,
I think it's great because I'm not trained as a teacher, so I love it. But I'm not trained as it, so we need to go back.
it all worked out, and you
It
gave them
did.
the option.
It did because I was trying to open one of my remodels and turn it into a salon, and it's going to be a hard time to balance out
Are
everything.
we going to cover that today? Your salon?
Sure.
Okay, good.
Sure. So can I finish
yes,
the
please do.
Okay. So I thought it was a private road. Turns out after researching it and just pulling documents off of the county records that there was one word and it made all the difference, public or private. Sure enough, it was a public road. So based off of what
was
I've
it in
seen,
the survey, or where was that? The 2 little words.
it was on
Was it commissioner the survey plat, or when they approved the subdivision?
It was on, so it's unrestricted land. So it was on when the lady at the end of the street, when her and her husband purchased the land, there was a little snippet in the middle paragraph. I can tell you right where it is on the page.
On the deed. Uh-huh.
Yes, that it was public. And she would argue up and down that it was private.
But
Because
it said
they'd
public
always-
are private.
They had always
But you
assumed
see,
it.
the attorney in me says, well, it's now by prescription become private, but the argument will always be on the other side. You've got something in writing, and the contract was made, and you, by parole evidence, can't go in now and try to change the fact unless you want to go to court. And would it be worth fighting a legal battle over just because you didn't want the? So you went in, but you didn't know that, and then you did some research into the deed, and because I thought you'd gone to the commissioner's court over was it Montgomery County Commissioner Court? I didn't know it was Montgomery County. I can't remember. You never did do that. I think there was.
I think I was looking at doing that as the next step, but
You had another case, I thought, where you actually did go to the commissioner's court for something. You were arguing with them on one of your properties. You said, "Yeah, we went to the." I can't remember the property now. You've had too many, things going on. But
I can't remember either.
you had gone to the commissioner's court hearing over something, and you typically, when a subdivision is created, the developer has to get approval depending on what the rules are, the statutes and the ordinances in that city or county. You have to get your subdivision approved. You can't just randomly go file a subdivision plat like they did in the 1800s and 1900s. And even then, it had to be stamped for approval by the jurisdiction if it was within. And I guess they didn't have ETJs back then, but there's a way to get a subdivision approved. And typically these days, if you're in a city or if you're in the ETJ of a city, and Montgomery County is a majority of it is within the extraterrestrial jurisdiction, so the city has authority with their ordinance to govern it. And the same thing with Magnolia, because Magnolia is Montgomery County too. Magnolia's got an ETJ, but I thought you had gone to the Magnolia, either Chamber of Commerce or the Commissioner's Court or something. It's always something different.
Oh, now I know which one.
Yes, you had gone and talked to him. What was that? Real
Yes.
quick.
Okay.
It had something to do with easements, I thought.
That one was more of a land acquisition pitfall, but we can do it now if you want.
Yeah, I want to hear. You went there because you use the same process when you have an easement issue in some cases, and you ended up there.
This was more along the lines of we purchased 5 acres. We had intended to turn it into an RV park and already had like a sketch of the land with the layout that we wanted to do. So we went to the town meeting, or I'm sorry, I forget kind of what all.
Commissioner's Court.
Whatever.
Commissioner's Court meeting.
Met with everybody and presented our plans for that, to which we...
How did you know to do that?
Phone calls.
Okay.
Just kept calling people until somebody kind of directed us, because I had no idea what I was doing.
Was that in Magnolia?
That is in Montgomery.
But
it
okay,
is-
that's why in my head I was thinking out toward A&M. That's why it wasn't here in Conroe. It was the Montgomery, not county commissioners, because it's Montgomery. It's going to be the city of Montgomery.
It was the city of
So
Montgomery
you had
that
to
we were
go to
dealing
their
with.
commissioners, Chamber of Commerce or the commissioner's court up there. Okay, got it.
Went to that meeting.
And that's what you have to
presented-
do in small towns. You have to figure out who's got jurisdiction over this rule.
Yes, and I thought there was no zoning in Texas. Well, apparently there's no zoning in Texas, but you can have zoning, I guess, in the cities, and I didn't know
They're
that.
all separate, right? Mhm.
Yes, so
they have their
we-
own jurisdictional ordinances that they created back in the day.
Yes, so a big failed stamp on that project because here we are thinking we're going to get to move forward. We bought it as unrestricted land, and we thought we had everything.
Nothing's going to stop you. Why can't you go forward?
Right, the utilities are right there at the edge of the property, which is perfect because like 7/8 of the land is in the city limits, but a little snippet of it is not. And I'm like, that's a great scenario as it is. And I thought everything was great. And so we went and presented our plans and thought we were just going to get this big old go
Stamp
ahead
of
with
approval.
it.
Yeah. It was
Sure.
just a matter of procedure.
No, that's not at all what we found out. They said, well, after digging into it more, there was going to be an impact fee. We're like, impact fee. What's that all about? Yeah, to tie into the
city?
utilities, to rezone it from residential to commercial, and to be to be able to tie into the public utilities. It was a $150,000 impact fee.
Oh my goodness!
To the city of Montgomery or to some.
That's my understanding. Was to the city.
my
I'm sorry, this has been a
And
couple years ago.
So
I can't
what
remember.
happened?
Right, but somebody
So
was going to
what
get
happened,
150,000.
Crystal?
So what happened is, mind you, we literally paid a third of that for the land. So
Oh my goodness!
that was frustrating in itself. To
That's
be
the
thrown
whole thing
that
about
number.
land purchase and knowing what the use is.
Yes,
But you wouldn't even have known that. I wouldn't have known that.
that makes me feel a
Well, so
little
what
better. Thank
happened?
you.
Did you abandon the project or what?
We did. We've completely abandoned the project. It's sitting there, and we're just paying taxes and interest on it.
I didn't know that. We can do some creative real estate over
We
there.
could. We
And
could.
I'm sure there's a loophole with that RV thing. We just haven't found it.
We just haven't found it.
Yeah, I'll find it. You didn't ask me. Great fun. Okay.
Because I got 5 other things going, but I would like to. It'd be
Okay,
fun.
good.
So yeah, so the impact fee kind of shut us down on
Mm-hmm,
that project. But I like land. I'm kind of a land snob. I feel like it's always going to go up in value. So as long as you get it for a good price, it's
What does
okay.
Scarlett say at the end of Gone with the Wind? Or maybe at the beginning, but she's saying she's talking to her daddy, Gerald O'Hara. Land is and he's telling her land is the only thing of value. And that's why biblically, land has always been a really big deal in all of our wars. Taking over land.
That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Okay, so anyway, you also had, and I don't want, I'm bumping around here, but you had an issue on 242. You had some land. Do you still have the land off 242?
I still have the land.
Okay. And you
Flooding
were
was
gonna-
the issue on that one.
Yes, and I thought you were going to build it up like they do off 45 and just bring in some sand and some dirt and build that land right on up.
And we looked into that and got it cleared, and we scrapped that project too.
Why was it another issue like the?
It was because we had too many other projects going. Something had to go.
Okay. Oh, you didn't
Oh,
scrap it
okay.
completely. You scrapped it for now.
No, we just scrapped it for now.
Because
And I bought
that-
that on a tax trust
Yes,
list.
that we're back over to taxes.
Yes.
How did you find that land in the tax
I found it
trust?
because a family member bought some land in the area.
Mm-hmm.
I after college, I lived down that street, a street like a couple away from it. So
You
down
lived
that
at-
basic
after
street.
college, you lived off of what it was, I guess, 242, but it's
Yes.
going toward 59. That's a long road going that way.
I did.
Okay.
I lived in a family member's rental property there,
Okay.
and was grateful to have that opportunity so that I could, I paid them rent, but it was a very low amount, and
Oh,
it
good. Yeah.
enabled me to save up money. I mean,
I love that.
just-
I wish all the kids would think like that. It's like,
If you
I've got to be
don't-
responsible.
yes.
This is what I can afford. This is where I will be, not, Daddy, hand me the money for this rent because you're responsible for me.
right. I'm very grateful. I've had lots of opopportunities, but the answer is always yes. If someone hands you an opportunity, take it and run with it because it might not come back
I'm going to
again.
embroider
So-
that on my pillow.
Oh, it is, and it gets you in a lot of trouble too sometimes. But it's fun. It's fun. So yeah, I still have that project, and it's kind of in the back of my mind. I still want to do like a tiny home community, but there was a lot to learn about that. Tiny homes are very gray area in the law, and you have to have, for example, it's considered like an RV unless.
There's
If
a
you have a
lot-
holding tank on it, that's the key. You have to have a holding tank to consider an RV. Otherwise, it's like a permanent house and a permanent structure, which is a whole other set of laws. And then you can only have, I think, 13 or 14 of them on the property. But if you don't have a holding tank, you can have one.
Right. Well, I had the same issue with some people that wanted to invest in mobile homes over here in Conroe. Not off of the First Street.
Okay.
And the ordinances have changed.
Yes.
You cannot. They've made it so you can't. You see all these little mobile homes that are right next to each other. They're like with
You can't do that anymore.
You cannot do that. And it's like, wait a minute. I bought a half acre. No.
No, you can't.
It's crazy. So before you buy land, that's what we're talking about today is before you, I'm just going to buy it. No. You've got to do your due diligence and maybe talk to some people because you're
You
going to
have
start.
to. And I know someone that's
Can't get a
dealing with
permit.
eminent domain right now, and it's an absolute nightmare
Really?
because they're grandfathered into so many things where they are.
Right.
And it's an existing mobile home park. It's been there, I
right,
think,
right.
40-something years.
You would think that would be grandfathered in completely.
Well, because of flooding, they're going to buy them out. And
Oh, wow. They went to the eminent. We've had a show on that. You have to have a
Yes, I heard that.
proceeding to show that it has been. I forgot the characterization of something that you can the government can take it through eminent domain because it no longer has value for whatever reason. I can't remember the term that's used, but it's a very common one. And you have to have. It has to be judicial, but it's the 5,000-pound gorilla.
well, their livelihood's being ripped out from underneath them without.
Yeah, and all it is a process. They can get eminent domain if they just go through this procedural government process,
Right.
Because of the government,
And it's going.
Yeah, I'm sorry
going.
for
Well,
them.
Well, it might work out great. The people have been great that they've been working with,
Mm-hmm.
and we're just waiting for that offer to come in. Is where that
Yeah,
is
I
right now.
know eminent domain cases that I did in the past all just had to do with you're never going to win this because you're not going to be able to prove that they can't take this land through eminent domain. But it's just what the value is. You're arguing all about. You're not going to give me anything. Maybe you can kind of work with them because they don't want to really go into a big, long drawn out fight. But eventually, it's just a negotiation of how much you're going to be able to retain.
Absolutely.
Get back from it. All right. So what do you have? Easements. I stopped you. You had a list.
Easements. Let's see.
Other than your public, unless you've moved on from your public road issue.
Yeah. So another easement issue that we've come about with is we bought another tract, a little, again, 5 acres, a different place, and it's very long and narrow. It's only about 120 feet wide. Turns out that despite what the realtor said on the selling side, that, oh, don't worry, that's part of a neighborhood easement to have access to that neighborhood if they want the very well-known, established
Was it on the
neighborhood.
survey or was it in the deed?
It was on the survey,
Okay.
and
referenced in the deed?
I think it was.
Well, it doesn't even
referenced
have to be
in the
referenced. It'll be
deed.
anything.
It's definitely on the survey.
record. If it's, yeah. All right.
So we were told that they already spoke to the neighborhood HOA and that they were going to drop the easement because it clearly goes nowhere except to a floodplain area in the back floodway, actually. And so we thought, oh, well, that's good.
So is it the HOA's easement? Whose easement was it?
I think it's the HOA's easement, is my
But the
understanding.
HOA is really, it's anything on a survey.
it's-
It's really for the benefit of everybody in the community. And the HOA may have the authority to waive the easement.
Well, and that's what we had hoped. My husband contacted them the first time. This is right after we purchased the property. And they said that if we tried to build something on it, they would sue us.
That's HOA's for you.
So we tried again. And this just happened in the last week. Spoke to
Oh,
someone
goodness.
because we've got someone else interested in basically doing more of a permanent structure on the land and kind of being partners in
But let me go
investing.
back. It was a 120-foot strip, and there's an easement. How big is the easement?
60 feet. So
Oh my
half of our
gosh.
property is non-usable.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, really
okay,
frustrating.
that's why you have to.
Crystal, you said that was a 120-foot wide strip.
Yes, and it's like 1,000 feet long or something crazy.
A cigar strip land is
goodness.
what they call it, but yes.
Yes.
And 60% of it you can't build on.
About half of it. Yeah, about half of it we can.
And you know my story about easements is the one that we had right off of 2978, where there's an easement for just, it's a 40-year-old survey. It just said easement. And then it described the easement specifically in the deed restrictions that said these easements are for this purpose, but a specific purpose, but not the one that ultimately it got used for. And the gas utility company came in and put a great big old plant on it. And they said, the easement lets us do this.
Okay.
The easement doesn't let them do that. But are you going to fight a $1 billion, a lawsuit for the rest of your life over that? But the thing was is that if what they said was true, the easement to put a massive 20-foot high, looks like a prison system gas plant on your easement, on your residential property, it was a residential lot, that means that they could do it to everybody's easement. They could go into anybody's backyard in this subdivision, there's 250 lots,
Okay.
and put this thing on there. And so the argument is, no, you can't do that. And so we thought we had that, and then there was an eminent domain argument. There was all these different arguments that we made on it. And ultimately, my client settled because your life is not worth being in court over an easement, because when you've got an attorney involved and they're bringing you into court, they know that your legal fees are exceeding the cost of the property
Right.
just to fight for it. So you have to weigh it.
Yeah, you want to fight for the principle, but sometimes
But
it's not
now,
worth the time.
the
But-
60-foot easement, what happened?
So let me
now?
backtrack for a second because it's interesting you mentioned that because we had the 242 property that you asked about. One of the reasons for that I put it on hold was, one of the many reasons was because trying to get water, which was literally one street over,
And it floods.
and it floods.
The water.
Major concern there. Getting water one street over and speaking to the utility company was going to also be, was it 60, 80, 100,000, something absurd.
Why?
But there was an easement. And I'm like, I don't understand. Like, I can show you the easement. I can plot it out
Right.
on a map, and it's clearly
Utilities,
written as
right.
an easement. And I'm like, look, and I got permission from the property owner
to build the water
to kind of
put
go
the pipes
across
in or
it.
something?
They had to go across a little snippet of theirs down an easement, and it would have been a fraction of the price. And I was willing to pay that to get
Right,
public
right,
water there because it
right.
simplifies everything
Right,
instead of having a well.
Right.
But that was a big hiccup because they're like, oh no, we can't use that easement. That's specific to other utilities.
Could
and I'm
you
like, what
have-
difference does it make?
Have dug your own, you can create your own easement. Could you have put the water pipes in yourself like we did over at one of our properties? We actually created our own pipeline to connect up to sewage because it didn't have that because we're too far outside of Magnolia. So you couldn't have done a private, that would have been a lot of money though to build and connect. I'm just wondering, it didn't seem like it'd be that expensive to build, a 6-foot ditch and put a water line in there and connect up to their water system and
I think they make you use some of their contractors or something. I mean, yes, I could tap into theirs, but that
Yeah.
was going to be
the cost was it was a
80,000, whatever it
phenomenal
was.
cost for us to tap into it because we did.
Wait,
it's ridiculous.
wait. So, Crystal, you were going to tap into theirs, but what happened? Why did you not do that? They just wouldn't permit it?
They would not allow me to go through the easement, which was the path of least resistance and a much shorter run. They wanted me to
Right.
go back down the street, up and around, basically make it
Oh, good
triple
night.
about the distance. And I think it was so that everybody on the street could connect and I could pay for the lines that were already there.
Exactly.
Oh, so
right.
it was. I think it probably was political because everybody was like shaking hands and nudging each other with their elbow.
I think so. It was quite frustrating.
Oh, I'm
So
sorry.
That's okay.
Okay. But
That's
anyway,
okay.
you
I'm not
learned-
done yet. I'm not done yet. That's just the beginning.
Okay, so the 60-foot one.
So,
what
oh
happened?
yes, going back to the 60-foot one. So we reached out again recently, and the president of the HOA said, and I quote, "There is not a way the easement can be amended without replatting the section and getting county approval, neither of which is going to happen." So,
Oh, and being on an HOA board, that they're just saying they're not going to approve it, but that's we have because we're on 1488, our subdivision has got major thoroughfares going through it. That's just simply not true. So you might want to talk to me about that because if you make a proposal to them, or you show that you're willing to absorb those costs or whatever it may be, if you've it's basically a lawsuit waiting to happen. But do you want to argue with that or find a different method of getting to the result that you want? There may be one.
it's like anything else. There's a happy medium for everybody.
Yeah.
We could just explore that option.
So anyway, I thought you'd resolve that 60-foot easement issue with that property, and it hasn't happened yet. And you can't build if you were to say whatever, I'm fine. You can't just build on the 60 feet that you can and be just as good. I mean.
My understanding is if we build anything permanent, that they could sue us, and
But
they could
that's within the
want
60-foot easement,
access.
right? What about the 60-foot that's not within the easement, the other side?
We already do have a structure there. We bought an
okay.
old farmhouse and renovated it. It was fun.
Cute. That's
Yeah,
right.
it
That
had
was
a
great.
street through it. Now it's a hair salon, so yeah, it's fun.
Is it actually a salon now?
It is.
Wow,
We're just
okay.
now opening. Yay!
I don't go to salons, or I'd say I'd visit, but it sounds really cute. I'm going to go see it.
I can treat you.
Because when we were trying to lease, no, I'm not. I refuse. When we bought our, we had people that wanted to lease our barn and change into an old white barn house salon.
Oh, okay.
But we didn't do it because it would have been a lot less. It wasn't cost effective to do that, so we didn't.
Oh, okay.
But I'm
No,
getting.
salons are not cost effective.
I am being told by station manager Dick that we are already out of time,
Already?
and I have so many other issues, HOA thwarts and land acquisition pitfalls. But
Went by fast.
perhaps we can get you back next week.
Crystal,
Ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for being our guest. Maybe I can meet you next week.
I would like that.
We want to remind you that you can download us on iTunes and Google Play tomorrow. You can watch us on Facebook. And we also want to remind you to
Serve God by serving others. And see us next week because we're going to get Crystal back on here.
Okay. Sounds great. Thank you.